Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, a free site, bettingangle.us, a free site. Today is Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022. Today's video isn't a gambling video. This is just really more a boxing commentary video. If you're looking for picks on upcoming fights, tune in next episode. This episode might not be for you. Let's talk boxing. Ryan Garcia. Very popular guy. He connects with fans. His upside as a boxing cash cow is obvious. Plus, he's talented. I don't know where his leverage comes from. According to the judges, not me, but according to the judges, he beat Virgil Ortiz in the amateurs. No small feat. Right? Has talent. He's beaten Nate Campbell. But, and let's be critical, knowing that boxing is a small community. Insiders and public figures in boxing are afraid to say anything controversial that might alienate a fighter, might alienate the team behind the fighter, the manager, the other fighters in the boxer's stable, the network on which the fighter performs. We don't have to worry about that here. Let's just be blunt. Let's have at it. Ryan Garcia is making a mind-blowingly bad decision. Let me underline the word bad. In leaving Eddie Reynoso, one of boxing's best trainers. In leaving Eddie's group. You might know one of the guys who Eddie trains. He, of course, is a surefire Hall of Famer. All he has to do to make it, folks, is retire. He, of course, knows all about being a cash cow in boxing. He's one of boxing's best pound for pound, and that's Saul Alvarez. Right, a guy now in his 30s, a guy who has traveled the roads that Ryan Garcia hopes to travel. Let's think about Reynoso's gym for a second. You have Saul Alvarez. You have former heavyweight champion Andy Ruiz. Right, folks? I know Ryan Garcia weighs a lot less than Andy Ruiz. But Andy Ruiz probably has faster hands than Ryan Garcia. Understand, too, you have Frank Sanchez, an unbeaten heavyweight right now. One of the threats to the throne. Now, Ryan Garcia has had some mental health challenges. Let's be blunt. Right? He's had some mental health challenges. I'm sure all of us, at least those of us over 21, have known someone who has faced mental health challenges, someone who suffers from depression, turns off from time to time, or someone who suffers from mania. Right? Lets all the glasses fall off the table when they get too excited. Has a problem controlling their own lives. Right now, just understand, mental health is among the most serious challenges someone can face. Right? If it's a physical challenge, let's say Odell Beckham, who in football, who you know is ready to play mentally, but he has a torn ACL. So, of course, people can look at the MRI, he can do rehab, that injury can be monitored. We can all figure out when that injury is starting to heal and when he's in a position where he can go back to a football field. With mental health, it's a lot tougher. Let me also say, too, that they have antidepressants and medication for people facing mental health challenges, but there are side effects. Some people gain weight. Understand, in a weight-based sport like boxing, that's divided by divisions, right? Gaining weight is a big challenge. Others might lose their edge. In other words, they're aggressive in the ring, but if they're on antidepressants, that aggression might go away. That fighter might lose what made that fighter special. So let's not underestimate the challenge that Ryan Garcia is facing as he returns to the sport of boxing. The best place for him to be, quite frankly, in this outsider's opinion, would be around a seasoned great, a guy who's a little bit older, a guy who's experienced a little bit more, a big brother, right? Canelo, who of course comes from a family of fighters, right? Canelo has had the benefits himself of being a little brother, right? Looking up to older fighters, people in the sport. Now, Canelo would appear at Ryan Garcia's fights, right? Canelo is a guy who understands that in addition to being a boxer, he's a role model, right? If you're Ryan Garcia, that's where you want to be, around Canelo. Not only to figure out the sport, Canelo's a great fighter, right? You watch Canelo, you say, oh, maybe I need to move my hands like that. Oh, maybe I need to value defense more than I do, right? I need to go to the body more. I see Canelo setting up knockouts with great body shots. You not only get to learn things like that up close in the gym, watching him, listening to your trainer, talk to Canelo since your trainer is also Canelo's trainer, right? You want to take a pad to moments like that. Ryan Garcia wouldn't only benefit from that, he would benefit from just seeing how to carry himself as a professional prize fighter in the public light, with demands on his time, with people pulling him in all directions, people trying to make money off of him. Right? He would have Canelo there, and he would be able to see how Canelo's handling everything. Let's remember, Canelo's a guy who sued Golden Boy. Canelo's a guy who has dealt with Eddie Hearn. Right? Canelo's a guy who has moved around. He's fought for premier boxing champions. Right? Canelo knows the lay of the land. Canelo has been bold enough to say, hey, I'm going to take risks. I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to sign contracts without safety nets. One fight deals. Right? I'm going to change promoters. I'm going to take risks. Right? I'm even going to fight out of my division. Right? Gain weight. Canelo's been there. Done that. Won championships. Become undisputed in a division that he wasn't in that long. Right? Ryan Garcia is not going to get that any other place, with all due respect. And I'm sure the people around Ryan Garcia might have resumes and stuff like that. When you get older, you realize the value of personal relationships. You realize how lucky you were to be in certain situations when you were a young knucklehead, convinced that you were going to be a world conqueror. Right? Ryan Garcia, let's hope he wakes up here. My advice to Ryan, and maybe it's too late, is, hey, player, don't sign anything. Think it over. Get second opinions. What's wrong with that? Right? Look at Canelo and try to figure out why Canelo is Canelo. Look at Eddie Reynoso and try to figure out why Canelo, who, I'm telling you, the top 12 trainers would love to have Canelo. Why Canelo's staying with Eddie Reynoso? Look at Andy Ruiz. Now think about it. Andy was not the most motivated he could have been for the Joshua rematch. By his own admission, Andy didn't come in tip-top shape. Here he is with Eddie Reynoso, and he's in great shape. Has anyone seen films of Andy Ruiz? He's in great shape. Right? An outsider might look at that and say, whoa, something good's happening at this gym. Guys are motivated. Even former heavyweight champs who, let's face it, have received millions of dollars in their career. Like Andy Ruiz, who, let's remember, fought Joseph Parker for the heavyweight title. Fought Joshua twice. Right? Somewhere in there, Andy got paid. And he's at this gym and he's motivated, more motivated than he was for the Joshua rematch. He's in shape. He's working hard. He's winning fights like his recent fight against Chris Arreola. You don't leave that situation. You think to yourself, man, I am one lucky son of a gun. Right? Let's hope Ryan Garcia gets some second opinions before he makes possibly life-altering moves. Just one more bit of information. Probellum, an outfit you need to know. It's run by former Sports Illustrated Promoter of the Year, Richard Schaefer. Right, I believe he won the award in 2013. Has entered into a deal with, and let's face it, boxing's like poker. Right? Everyone wants to look like they're from the streets. Everyone wants to look like they're rough and tumble. Everyone wants to look like they can hop in the ring, whatever their role, and dish out some punishment, defend themselves at a minimum. Well, Lou DiBella is that kind of guy. Right? Lou, when you see him, he has a little Dana White in him, right? A little swag and stuff like that. Just understand that Lou DiBella is a Harvard Law School graduate. Right? This is a real brainy guy. This is a real experienced guy who has been involved deep inside some of the most important places in boxing. So Lou DiBella has been a promoter for a long time, and he's dealt with another Harvard guy, right? It's practically a Harvard University reunion. Al Heyman. Right? Lou DiBella, of course, looks like Dana White in public. Al Heyman isn't even in public. Right? This is the Harvard part of boxing. And Lou has been a promoter for Premier Boxing Champions. Well, understand he has signed with Probellum now. Folks, that's a major intersection that's going to have big-time repercussions in boxing. Right? I'm just telling you, a lot of the big-time boxing news is not on the front page of the sports section. Right? This is big time. So let's just put it this way. You're talking about a big-time guy in Schaefer who has an excellent stable of fighters, joining up with a big-time guy in DiBella who also has an excellent stable of fighters. Right? Folks, they want to bring fights to the public. There's no reason why they can't. Now, this is important at a time where the sport is mind-blowingly ridiculous. Right? How long are we going to wait for Errol Spence to agree to fight Terence Crawford? Folks, this has gotten embarrassing. Crawford now is saying, look, I've chased this man long enough. I'm thinking about moving up to 154 now. Right? It's so ridiculous that as you watch the Amir Khan, Kell Brook fight, you thought to yourself, wow, Crawford's fought both of these guys. In other words, Crawford is up at 147. He's out there. He's taking challenges. Why can't we get Crawford against Spence? Hell, at this point, I'll take Crawford against Keith Thurman. Right? Give a brother something. Well, that's the sport we're in, isn't it? Right? Dimitri Bivol has been elite for years. One of the light heavyweight champs. How come he and Arthur Beterbiev can't get in the ring? Here again, how long are we going to wait? Let me tell you the way boxing works. George Kambosos wins the title at 135. Devin Haney has a share of the title, right? Has one of the belts. The two guys talk about wanting to fight each other. It's all over boxing media, right? These guys want to unify. You think, wow, this is an easy fight to sell. The Australian government gets involved. They say, hey, you know what? We'll throw some money at this. You fight in Australia. This is great for tourism. We'll throw money at this. This is a great fight. We want to be associated with it. So I'm sure there are many boxing fans like me watching this video who thought, oh, this is a fight that's going to be made. Right? The guys are going to be winners before the first punch is thrown. High-profile event. They're getting a lot of money. At a minimum, you know they're serious about their careers. They're going for unification. So, of course, you understand what happens next in boxing. Everyone starts pointing fingers, right? Rather than close the deal, everyone starts pointing fingers, right? Eddie Hearn says, hey, Devin Haney wants to fight. Lou DiBella, who handles George Kambosos, says, hey, here's an offer for the fight. Depending on who you believe, there was no real response to that offer. Right? We're here as fans in boxing limbo. Everyone claims they want to be undisputed. But yet, for some reason, guys aren't signing contracts. You got a country ready to host the fight. Fight fans are thinking, gee, this is the fight I want to see at 135. And yet it's not done. What gives? It's so bad that you have guys without titles. He's one of the best in the sport pound for pound, but he doesn't have a title. Vasily Lomachenko, and he's like, hey man, look, if you guys can't close the deal, George Kambosos, what about me? You know, my crew is ready to sign, the dotted line to get this done. Now, that's the current world of boxing. Folks, it's a joke. You can't even believe basic interviews. A guy says, I want to be undisputed. If that's true, don't you sign the deal? Look, I know the money matters, but at some point, isn't your family taken care of? If they're up around 7 figures, aren't you thinking, you know what? I'm well paid for this. Right? Aren't you thinking, too, in terms of the rest of your career? You're thinking, man, if I win this fight and I become undisputed, whatever happens down the road, this will be part of my resume. Well, let me just say, now you have two guys, two movers, guys who are real, right? As I said, Lou DiBella sent a contract over to Eddie Hearn. Let's get this done. You have him hooking up with Richard Schaefer. Let's talk about some of the fighters they have. From the Probellum side, Regis Prograis, you know him. Right? John Casimiro, you know him. Nonito Donaire, speaking of the Hall of Fame, you know him. Badu Jack, you know him. Let's talk about the DiBella side. You heard me mention George Kambosos. You know, he is the guy behind his group, Amanda Serrano. You know her. Hannah Gabriels. You know her. Bakhada Jalilov, heavyweight. Look him up, folks. Unbeaten. Medalist. Rajab Budayev. If you don't know him, you need to look him up. Richard Kami, Junior Fa, who gave Joseph Parker a handful. Right, so these are guys with stables of fighters. These are guys who get fights made. That's how you win Sports Illustrated's Promoter of the Year. Right now, we understand in business there are going to be some severed business relationships. Right, Oscar De La Hoya and Richard Schaefer didn't exactly see eye to eye at the end of Schaefer's association with Golden Boy Promotions. Okay, fine. These things happen in boxing. But what I like is the fact that you're having groups with fighters getting together. You have a guy, DiBella, who has done business with Al Heyman. He's now doing business with Richard Schaefer, too. Let's just say this is a move in the right direction. You need to pay close attention to it, because in about 6 months, stuff's going to come rolling down the pike from this outfit. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section of this video. Thanks for stopping by.